All right, well, welcome. It's Tuesday, February 8th, and this is our monthly OSM community call. So thank you for everyone that's showing up. We actually got a pretty good agenda. If you haven't done so already, please add your name to the attendee list. And also this call is governed by the CNCF Code of Conduct. So if you're not familiar with that, please go read the Code of Conduct file in the repo, and that'll give you all the instructions on how you can participate. Okay, with that said, let me go ahead and let's take a look at the agenda here. And first off, congrats to the team. We actually released our v.1.0.0. So that was pretty cool. And what I'll do is let me just share out the blog if you haven't seen this.
Very exciting. Congratulations to the whole team.
Yeah. So we got a quick write-up on the blog around the V1 announcement, and we do highlight some of the core things. Obviously, there's a ton of features and things that went in there, but you know, some of the things that we highlight is, you know, being able to validate SMI traffic targets. We have automatic scaling based upon for the OSM controller based around memory utilization. We're now supporting TCP endpoints first class in the mesh. So again, any kind of data stores that you want to bring into your mesh, you'll be able to do so, or anything that just has a TCP endpoint. We're also, we've shipped some Grafana dashboards, and those are ever evolving. And then we also have opened up some of the other platforms, such as some of the ARM 64. So again, a lot of goodness that's happened in V1. Okay, next, what we can do is, Shashank, thanks for showing up. I see you have something. I think it's probably best. Let's just fast forward to yours, and then what I can do is I can then wrap up with some of the work that's in flight. So if you want to go ahead and talk about your new features, I'll hand it over to you.
Can I share my screen? Is that possible?
I believe Bridget will give you the perms to do so. I'm going to go ahead and stop my share. And you should be able to just take over when you're ready.
Okay. Let me know when you see it.
Yep.
I see you're broadcasting.
Okay. You don't see the Zoom bar, right?
No, only
see your browser window.
Okay, perfect.
OSM roadmap, etc. Yeah.
Okay, sounds great. So firstly, I wanted to talk a bit about the new feature that we introduced post v1.0.0 release, which pertains to outbound IP range inclusions. This is sort of an enhancement to the previous behavior that we had with respect to being able to configure outbound IP range exclusions. Essentially, in OSM, every TCP traffic that the application receives or sends is intercepted by the proxy sidecar, but we had this capability wherein you could specify certain IP address ranges that you could exclude from sidecar interception and redirection. There was another ask from quite a few customers actually regarding providing the inverse behavior wherein users can specify what IP ranges they want the sidecar to intercept and exclude everything else. And this is primarily useful when you are aware of the cluster's service and pod IP address ranges, and you know that any other traffic that does not belong to these IP address ranges can be excluded, so that if you're accessing a destination that's outside the cluster, accessing some sort of a database, and you have to open a ton of ports and configure a lot of policies, that becomes cumbersome. And so as a part of this feature work, we introduced this capability wherein you could specify a list of IP ranges that you want to include for outbound traffic interception, and every other traffic that falls outside this IP range is excluded from interception. So you don't necessarily have to configure fine-grained policies for traffic that you don't want to intercept. And this feature is provided at both the global mesh scope, as well as configurable on a per pod basis, very similar to the exclusions feature. So if you're interested in this, it's worth giving this a shot. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was regarding some of the newer items in our roadmap, primarily pertaining to configuring service level policies. So one of the enhancements that we made in OSM that's still a work in progress pertains to adding support for retry policies. This is being worked upon by Shellier. This is basically a feature that will allow users to configure retries for transient failures between for application traffic. For instance, if a client makes an HTTP request and it fails because of 503s or 404s for whatever reason, and they're transient, you can configure retry policies to ensure that there's some sort of resiliency to those sort of transient failures. In addition to building resiliency in your cluster through retry policies, we're also starting to work on circuit breaking. This is another interesting feature wherein you want to make sure that you don't really introduce or propagate failures across applications when there's a lot of calls between your applications. And if there's a failure in your upstream component, then you quickly fail and make sure that the rest of the applications are not impacted based on how you end up configuring your circuit breaking. And to that regard, the thing that I wanted to discuss was also regarding some of the work we're doing in terms of addressing the limitations in the existing SMI policies. So currently we're using SMI for primarily authorization, where we use the policy to specify that a client belonging to a service account X can talk to a server application belonging to a service account Y. What's missing in SMI right now is the ability to define fine-grained traffic policies pertaining to services. So SMI doesn't really talk about services in general, but there's a lot of features that customers are demanding that pertain to being able to configure service level policies, like circuit breaking is one example, retries are another example. There's features like outlier detection that are also based on like services. So as a part of this effort to add these newer set of features such as circuit breaking and being able to configure timeouts for application and so on, we will be coming up with a new API that allows you to configure service level attributes in a more generic manner without needing to add workarounds and use annotations and things of that sort as a temporary mechanism that we were providing so far. And so maybe in the next week or so, you should probably see a design doc regarding how we're planning to extend the current capability in OSM to address some of the existing limitations around being able to configure service-based traffic policies. And so that is something that I'm looking forward to, and I'll share the design doc once it's available for review. I'll pass it over to you, Phil.
Awesome. All right, so Shashank, and you actually stole a lot of my thunder going into the milestone review, but no, great summary there. So yeah, I will just sum up some of the milestones. Let me go ahead and I'll just share out the, there we go. Got too many screens going on here. I'll just go ahead and just talk briefly on the roadmap. So Shashank highlighted on a couple of things that I was really going to get into, but yeah, we've got a lot of signal on kind of like HA abilities at the application level. So the retries, the circuit breaking, et cetera. And so, yeah, we are now a little heads down on enabling those features in OSM. One thing to note here, and again, thanks to Shashank and the engineering team, is you may notice we got a nice little revamped project board here. Super simplistic. We wanted to make sure that You can come here and just see kind of what's on our agenda to do, what's kind of in flight, and what's been done. So we really just, in the theme of OSM, we really just want to try to simplify this whole process here. So hopefully those wanting to know what work efforts are happening with OSM, you can come to this board and kind of see what's in flight. With that, again, some of the other things that we have, let me go into our newer milestone here, which is the milestone V.1.1.0. We have, again, as Shashank mentioned, some circuit breaking. One thing we do have that is going to be pretty exciting. I think Alan was on the call here. So we are going to be documenting some of the outputs from our performance and benchmark testing. So we'll have that in the document, and we'll also probably put a blog around it and kind of talk about the experience of going through configuring the test harness and just all the ins and outs of actually doing these type of tests where there's so many permutations of data to kind of output. So be on the lookout for that. We're updating some Grafana dashboards as well. And it's probably it from the highlight. Obviously, there's some other things here, but those are probably the most notable things here to discuss. I'll pause there. If there's anything else anyone wants to add to some of the roadmap or milestone conversation. All right. So I think that's
I see that
Oh,
Thomas is on the call. So I don't know if he wants to refer to anything from GitHub or just kind of introduce himself or reintroduce himself and make sure that we're hearing about what the new vision is going forward. But yeah, Thomas, if you want to say hi.
She's good for putting people on the spot there, Thomas. So.
We cannot hear you. Thomas can say hi in mime.
Mute button.
Computers, they're challenging. This is really exciting, Phil. So I noticed that Shashank mentioned wanting to address some of the limitations of SMI around, traffic policy. And I know that the SMI traffic target design proposal doc is also in flight. And so I'm interested in just kind of the general sense of where stuff is going to get driven. Are we going to kind of test it out, or, which stuff gets taken care of in the spec and which stuff we're going to kind of iterate on and then figure out what to push upstream, et cetera. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, our whole standpoint is, SMI is super valuable, being the set of common APIs to interact across, multiple messages that want to consume it. But I think our stance is we're going to have OSM kind of be more the playground, and we can kind of test this out and then bring that data back to the SMI community and say, hey, look what we've done, look what we tested, and then start to consider, expanding those specs in that area. So that's kind of the game plan I see. And I'll let Thomas chime in. I'm not sure if Thomas is still fighting with his mute button or not, but if that's okay, we're all good. Okay, cool. I think that's it for all the agenda items. I think we can wrap it up. I think our next call is going to be next month, Tuesday, March 8th. And again, if you have anything you wish to discuss or want to demo, please go ahead and update the community documentation, and we'll consider it, and we'll have you on to talk about it. With that, there's not anything else. We don't have to keep going. I'll just kind of put out there any other questions, comments, or anything from anyone on the call. Okay, we take silence as a no. All right, thank you everyone for showing up, and we will see you next month, Tuesday, March 8th. Have a good one.
Thanks.